Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for being here. My name is Syed Hassan with the Migrant Rights Network. I want to begin by telling all of us that just over 10 months ago, today, on June 14th, 2020, migrant and undocumented people launched a campaign calling for full and permanent immigration status for all. Today's announcement is a result of migrants bravely organizing and speaking up, and we will not stop till every migrant and undocumented person in the country achieves full and permanent immigration status, and working class immigrants arrive in the future with permanent resident status. Migrant exploitation is not an exception, it is the norm. What was announced today is a time-limited and partial program for few, but exploitation and exclusion from rights is built into the temporary immigration system. And each year, hundreds of thousands of people are issued temporary permits, which make it impossible for them to assert labor rights, access decent healthcare, get income supports during a public health pandemic, or be able to assert their right to speak up when they're facing reprisals. Today's announcement does not fundamentally alter the structure of the immigration system, but instead opens up a very brief window that will include some but exclude most. We are here to call on the federal government to include all migrant and undocumented people into this program. 500,000 people live and work in our communities without permanent immigration status, many of them in the exact same essential industries that are being spoken out about today. And undocumented people deserve the same access to permanent resident status as everybody else. We should also be clear that English language requirements in this program will exclude entire sectors of migrant workers and communities. Many migrants who otherwise qualify will not be able to get English level accreditation in time, particularly during COVID-19. This is a blatant discrimination against many non-English speaking migrants. We want to affirm and assert that each and every one of us is essential. All migrants, no matter what kind of work we do, waged or unwaged, with study permits, work permits, or undocumented, we must be included. Permanent resident status is not a gift or a price to be earned. It is the only way to ensure equality of rights and access to basic services. Anything less permits and produces inequality. We also want to send a message to every migrant and migrant person in the country who will be able to access permanent residence through this program. We cannot leave our friends and neighbors behind. We must continue the struggle until each and every one of us gets full and permanent resident status for all, resident status, and every migrant who arrives in the future does so with full and permanent immigration status. We want to be clear. Today's announcement is a start. It's good, but it's not good enough. Without fundamental change through granting a complete overhaul of the system, we will not see any significant changes in the lives of migrants on a long-term basis. We call again on the federal government to do the right thing to ensure status for all and permanent resident status on arrival in the future. Thank you. First up, our speaker is going to be Lily. Lily is an undocumented leader who is a long-term care worker based here in Toronto. This afternoon, we heard the Minister of Immigration speak about healthcare as a crucial industry in which migrant and undocumented people are working, and they should be allowed access to permanent resident status. Lily is a person who, however, is being excluded from this program. Please go ahead, Lily.
And I kept working so that I could get my 24 months of work for my permanent residency, so that I could be reunited with my family. In the end, because of mistreatment from employers and difficult requirements needed to get my PR, I was forced out of status. It is the immigration system that forced me to lose my status, and it is continuing to force me out with this new program. They call us essential, but they keep excluding us. We don't need any more pathways. We need PR for all, no exceptions, no exclusions.
Thank you so much, Lily, and for sharing these very crucial and important words with us today. because we, and Lily was able to join us today, despite the fact that, Lily is at work because of this last minute announcement. And so thank you so much, especially for being here. And we hope you can stick with us through to the end. Next, I want to invite another migrant worker who has been at the front line of this crisis, someone who has been, who bravely spoke out during this moment in the pandemic against abuse and exploitation after one of his roommates, Juan Lopez Chaparro, passed away. And Gabriel Flores was fired for speaking to the media. And Gabriel is a Spanish-speaking farm worker who will not be able to qualify under the current conditions. So Gabriel is going to speak to us in Spanish, and then we will hear translation after that. Go ahead, Gabriel.
Hola, hola, ¿cómo están? Bueno, yo pertenezco al programa Trabajadores Agrícolas desde el año pasado. He venido a trabajar aquí a Canadá por 6 años. El año pasado tuve que hacer una demanda en contra de mi empleador por malas acciones en contra de mis, bueno, de todos mis compañeros. Dimos 199 trabajadores positivos de COVID. Y pues yo me atreví a alzar la voz y denunciar los atropellos que estaban pasando dentro de la farma. A cambio de eso recibí un permiso de trabajo abierto, pero me deja imposibilitado de conseguir la residencia permanente por no hablar inglés. Que este caso nos pasa a mí y a otros compañeros. Y es importante que podamos obtener la residencia permanente, pero para todos.
My name is Gabriel Flores. I am an agricultural worker from Mexico. I am in the Seasonal Agricultural Workers Program and have been coming to Canada for 6 years. Last year, I had to file a complaint with the Labor Board against my employer. There was a lot of bad behavior on their part that resulted in a massive COVID outbreak on our farm where 199 of me and my coworkers tested positive. I raised my voice to denounce what had happened, including the death of Juan Lopez Chaparro, and I was fired as a result. I got a temporary work permit afterwards so that I can be here working, but I don't have access to PR. And I still don't through this new program because I don't meet the English language requirements. Many of my coworkers are and will be in the exact same situation as me, and it is not fair that we are excluded. We all need status for all now.
Thank you so much, Gabriel, and thank you so much for joining us today in this moment. While migrants have won this victory, it is also people like Gabriel who are the migrants who have organized to speak up and to ensure that all of us have full and permanent immigration status for all. It is essential that no one be excluded from the basic rights and protections that citizenship guarantees to people. And so in this vein, I'm going to next invite Marisol, who is going to be speaking to us about as another worker who's facing exclusions. Marisol, please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Marisol Bobadilla from Migrant Canada, based in Ontario, here in Toronto. This victory is born out of an ongoing struggle of migrant workers. When we are organized and have unity across the different sectors of working class people, the government has no option but to listen and act on our demands. Well, this new immigration stream is a step in the right direction. It will undoubtedly help migrants who've been hit tremendously during the pandemic. it does not address the temporary foreign workers program fundamental crisis or fundamental issues, which is addressing the temporariness of the workers themselves. It also falls short of serving the more vulnerable group of workers who have lost their immigration status. The undocumented workers have long been demanding full protection. Instead, a new stream such as one announced today reinforces Canadian immigration existing neoliberal scheme. As of today, exploitation of various forms is on the rise. Canada's desire for cheap and disposable labor is also on the rise. With more migrants coming in without any meaningful social protection. In the end, these initiatives are essentially breadcrumbs that are offered to deserving migrants without addressing the fundamental issues. At the immediate, we demand the Canadian government to listen to the workers' demand and ensure all workers are accorded full protection, dignity, and respect. We must also hold the Canadian government accountable for its role in the massive displacement of people worldwide. We will continue to organize and take action until we get status. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marisol. And next we are going to invite Sashana, who is a migrant student. We have heard from the Minister of Immigration that migrant student workers are crucial to Canada's success. But here we have another migrant student worker who currently is not being able to access this program. So Sashana is going to share some words about her experience. Go ahead, Sashana.
Hi, my name is Sashana, and I am a former international student who graduated from a one-year program at Centennial College. First and foremost, the immigration program announced today excludes migrant student workers like me who do not meet these narrow and arbitrary requirements. We are seeing over and over that government can make changes, but is choosing not to make the necessary changes and that we all deserve. All migrant and undocumented people deserve full and permanent immigration status. Currently, I am an essential worker that works at a warehouse, and we are keeping the economy going by continuously delivering products to people all across Canada. I consider myself, and I know a lot of people can relate to this, that we are essential workers, but we are not seen this. We are just considered to be essential. We all deserve equal rights and equal status in this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sashana. That is exactly what we need to make sure that we have the immigration minister here and Prime Minister Trudeau here, that today's victory by migrants is good, but it's not good enough. We need a fundamental overhaul of our immigration system to ensure full and permanent immigration status for all. So next, I'm going to invite our regional members from across the country, starting from Alberta. Marco Luciano is going to share some words about this announcement. Marco, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you. I appreciate all the migrant workers and students that bravely came out with us today, and the statement of Marisol that this victory is born out of the ongoing struggles of migrant workers. It is true, this announcement is a partial victory for migrants that have been fighting for immigration policy change for a very long time. That has to be recognized. This change is not out of the goodness of the minister's hearts, right? Organizations that are members of MRN or the Migrant Rights Network have been working together across the country for this, and majority of our members and members of these organizations are migrant workers. However, though, the announcement falls short of what the migrant really needed. And aside from a very, very short open period, short window, it's only 6 months. Many workers are excluded from the announcements, particularly the non-status or undocumented migrants and those that cannot access the language requirements. Across the province of Alberta, for example, here where I am, there are approximately 25 to 50,000 undocumented migrants. They were former TFWs that for one reason or another lost their status. And they still work in the essential service sector. They work in food industry, in care industry. And these times of COVID-19, they're very, very vulnerable. There are also thousands of farm workers in central and southern Alberta, mainly from Mexico, that will not be eligible. These workers are essential part of our Canadian food security, yet time and time again, they were excluded. Farm workers and undocumented migrants are essential workers. They must be part of the government's priorities in creating these policies. And again, while we acknowledge the changes in this new temporary pathway, it is not enough, definitely not enough. If the government keep on saying that in times of COVID, no one will be left behind, for us, all precarious migrants must be included. They should not be left behind. And I echo all the call of the migrants that are here. We will continue to fight for these marginalized workers and changes in the system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Marco. And next, I'm going to invite Byron Cruz, who is based in British Columbia, to share a few words. Byron, go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. This is Byron Cruz from Sanctuary Health, a member of the Migrant Rights Network here in British Columbia. And right now, I'm sharing the same feeling as the rest of my friends from the Migrant Rights Network. On the one hand, we are happy because this is an important step after all these years of struggling for permanent residence, and also as a result of our campaign of permanent status or status for all. And on the other hand, we are totally dissatisfied. We really not happy with the way, because these changes are not bringing fundamental changes. Like all the families who are undocumented or have precarious immigration status will continue being exploited. During COVID time, these families, these workers have been working in construction, in janitorial services, in occupations that no one wants to do. And it's really terrible that they are not part of this policy change. Definitely, we will keep mobilizing our communities around this, because this is the only way to really make fundamental changes, are to provide or to approve permanent residence for all current migrants in the country, and those who will be coming in the next future. They should have access to permanent residence at point of entrance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Byron. And next, I'm going to invite Stacey Gomez, who is joining us from Nova Scotia, to share a few words. Go ahead, Stacey.
Thank you. So migrants, as we've heard, are essential workers in all sectors, and they're also essential members of our communities. And we see this from coast to coast. So permanent residence provides access to equality of rights and access to essential services like healthcare, like education, that many Canadians take for granted. And while this program is a step in the right direction, it has only happened because of migrants speaking out and organizing across the country, and because of constant pressure on the Canadian government. But this program, as we've heard, leaves too many people behind, including undocumented people and people who do not speak English. And permanent residence for all is necessary, urgent, and possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stacey. So I am going to just add some closing words, and then we will turn over to questions from the journalists who are here. So I just want to repeat our, what it is that we want to be very clear that the federal government hears us. Today's decision is a direct result of migrants organizing. It comes 10 months into our Status for All campaign, but we call on the federal government to ensure full and permanent immigration status for all migrant and undocumented people in the country today, and all migrants who arrive in the future to come to the country with permanent resident status. We know that when there is a system of temporary migration, it is simply impossible to either assert rights or even access rights that you may have. We cannot have a multi-tier system of citizenship because it simply does not ensure fair and equal rights. Too many people are being excluded. 1.6 million people in the country are migrant and undocumented. Today's decision only touches 90,000 people. And so we are planning actions throughout the year, and we're calling on the federal government to do the right thing, to ensure that no one is left behind, not just because permanent resident status is essential for rights and recovery, but also because it is the right thing to do. So I'm now going to turn over to the journalists, and I'm going to invite you to indicate through the Q&A if you have any questions, and we'll unmute you and you can direct your question to whoever you would like to. Or you can raise your hand and we can unmute you, whatever it is that seems appropriate. Are there any questions? Okay, I don't see any question. Oh, yes, there's a, just about to. Yes, so we are going to unmute Rafi from CBC. Rafi, go ahead, you are allowed to talk now.
Hi there, thanks for taking my question. So the first one is for Gabriel Flores, so perhaps it will require some back and forth translation again, please. I was wondering if Gabriel could tell us, since he has already paid the price once he was fired for speaking out last year when his roommate died from COVID-19, I was wondering what it is exactly that's compelling him to speak to us again today, despite consequences he's already faced. Why is this so important for him? Thank you.
Thank you, Rafi. I'm going to ask Karen to translate the question for Gabriel.
Sure, thank you.
Gabriel, la pregunta del periodista es que si tú ya el año pasado ya pagaste un precio muy alto por haber denunciado las condiciones y los problemas con el sistema, ¿qué te motivó de estar aquí hoy para denunciar una segunda vez con todo lo que ya has perdido? Estás en mute. Estás en mute, Gabriel.
Okay, ya. Me motiva mucho, pues, pues mi familia, el poder, el estar aquí, trabajar para poderle darle sustento a mi familia, eso me da bastantes motivos para poder estar aquí otra vez y seguir luchando para poderle darle un mejor porvenir a mi familia.
¿Y por qué estar aquí en la conferencia de prensa hoy?
Porque, bueno, es importante que me tomen en cuenta, aunque nos tomen en cuenta a nosotros hispanos, porque pues, somos postulados como, pues, un trabajo esencial para acá, para el país, pero pues no se nos toma mucho en cuenta. Por eso mismo, pues me atrevo de vuelta a denunciar que pues necesitamos una oportunidad, igual que todos, la residencia permanente para todos.
I am here because I am here from my family. I want to support them. I want to be reunited with them. And I am here again today to denounce what's happening, because people like us, workers like us, they say that we are essential to this economy and to this country, and yet we continue to be excluded. We all deserve better, and we all deserve to be included. We all deserve status for all.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Gracias.
Sorry, you said you had a second question. Go ahead.
Well, the second question was for you, actually.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, could you tell us exactly what kind of more detail you might be looking for from the federal government? Because, I mean, I listened to that news conference and I don't know exactly what is the full list of people who will qualify yet. I don't know how long it will take them to qualify under this program. Like there doesn't seem to be any sort of timeline at the moment. What was your impression from all that?
So it's our understanding that the program is opening on May 6th and will continue until November. It's a 6-month program. However, it will be closed whenever the cap is met. So one of the key things is we want to make sure that this very restrictive 90,000 person cap is removed. You know, there are hundreds of thousands of people on work permits in the country who should be able to qualify were it not for the cap. And in addition, we need this English language requirement to be removed, because it is a requirement to have that accreditation take place when you are applying. And in these 6 months, in the context of COVID-19, it's simply not possible to. We have seen the NOC codes. They are now available on the federal government website. But our issue remains that it is a very restrictive category, and it is difficult to assess how people will prove that they are in those categories. At the same time, the requirement for a valid work permit and to be employed is also deeply concerning, because in this moment of COVID-19, where we know that racialized people's unemployment is over 12%, and in for certain communities it's much higher, in certain regions it's much higher, that these requirements are fundamentally excluding people, not for any fault of their own. So we are looking for a lot more clarification. We know that they'll be created, but what we do know is that this simply doesn't go far enough, because what it is it is a band-aid solution that does not change the basic fundamental nature of the temporary and undocumented immigration system. It opens up a very small window in which certain people can be able to get permanent resident status. So the most crucial thing about this decision is to say that the federal government can, at any point, ensure that all low-wage, working-class, racialized, migrant and undocumented people in the country can have permanent resident status for all. This is being done, without going to parliament. It can just be done by regulation. And so because they can do this, it proves to us that full and permanent immigration status for all is possible, and it is essential, and it is necessary. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, that was great. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Is there any other questions right now? I don't see one. So I'm going to ask if any of the of our team that's here, migrant and undocumented people from across the country, migrant leaders from across the country, does anybody want to say any last word before we wrap up?
Yes, Husan, this is Byron from BC. I think you refer also to this, but it is important to mention also the fact that we know that the percentage of acceptance of humanitarian and applications for undocumented families, it's really low right now compared to last year or previous years. And it is really inconsistent now when we are seeing that there are some open doors on one way, but closing doors in other ways, right? When we have so many families waiting for responses from their application for humanitarian reasons, and now we know that the percentage is really bad. It's 35% at national level. Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you, Byron, and absolutely. So at the same time, when the federal government is saying it needs no more permanent residents, we have seen that the only way for undocumented people to get immigration status is through the humanitarian application. And as Byron mentioned, that's dropped to 37% from where it was in 65% just in the previous year. Not just that, 2020 saw the largest number of deportations of any year in the previous 5 years. So at a time when in a global public health pandemic, the government of Canada actually deported thousands of people outside of the country at a time when it put people's lives at greater risk. So I'm going to turn back to my team, and if anybody else wants to say any last words before we wrap up. Just going to give it a quick look. No. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for listening. And I want to reiterate what each and every one of us has said. The fight for full and permanent immigration status for all continues. This is a victory by migrants, which ensures permanent resident status for a few, but too many are excluded, and the fundamental nature of the immigration system is intact. We are looking for a total transformation of the system, and I want we've just dropped the press release, so please give it a look, and we will proceed from there. Actually, I believe that is the wrong press release. So we will just drop the press release right now, and then we will wrap up. Thank you. Is that, Sarum, can you please drop the right press release? That's yesterday's, I think. I see, Rafi, you've raised your hand. Did you want to have a follow-up question?
A very technical one, actually, Syed. Thank you. I'm about to go on video and pronounce your name shortly, and I just wanted to hear you say your last name, please, to make sure I get that right.
My name is Syed Hassan. Thank you.
Hassan. Okay, got it. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and we will continue our struggle, and we will see you all shortly. Thank you so much.
Status for all.
Status for all.